Aston Martin team came with a chip on their shoulder going into 2023. With the bad 2021 and 2022, they are now the team looking to fight Red Bull. And it is the team that I think will take it competitively to Red Bull, especially within these coming races, and what is going to come for this team. What these upgrades entailed for them in Canada, the future, specifically talking Silverstone, and why I believe this will be the team for the rest of the year actually taking wins off of Red Bull. Specifically Alonso, the Lance isn't that close, but still competitive.
It was, mega, to fight again for a podium, even close to the victory and put some pressure finally to the Red Bulls. Felt good. We lost a place at the start, but then we fought hard to recover that place with Luis, and it was incredible to share the podium with two great champions, and we show Aston Martin is back.
Speaking about Canada for the Aston Martin team, I wasn't able to speak about this. I know a lot of you guys wanted to see this. I want to talk about it. I wanted to talk about why Aston Martin was so strong there. I mean, let's get the obvious out of the way. The actual Aston Martin is a super rear limited car. It's super strong on its rear tires, being able to go into traction zones, something Mercedes lacks. Actually, Ferrari is really strong there, but not as strong as Aston Martin. And they're on par with Red Bull in most of the corners. Now, where they lack in is its kind of high-speed cornering. It feels very unstable, is really what I've been hearing from Fernando Alonso. But Canada, the track itself, doesn't have a lot of high-speed corners, so they didn't have to rely on that. They were actually able to be as fast as Red Bull in both sectors 1 and 2, and with this DRS efficiency, they were only, because this is a big deal, 3 kilometers off of Red Bull in really the straight line in Sector 3. Now that, to me, is entailment of DRS efficiency working very well. The car still is pretty draggy, but not as draggy as before. The upgrades have helped with that. Let's talk about those. Everything that was brought to Canada. Obviously, a revised floor, bringing in a bigger undercut, not huge, but bigger undercut. They were able to bring in that middle of the floor, promote the airflow going in that type of fashion. Now, if we look side by side with the Red Bull car and the Aston Martin car, it is different. The Red Bull car is going completely under the side pod. This is still taking it more to the side. It is an enhancement, but still, there is still more to be added on that underfloor. Red Bull has really perfected that fashion of how they want that car to bring its airflow through the car, and that's why they have that really installment of the beam wing. Something Aston Martin is still kind of lacking, and why in straight line, even without DRS, they aren't as fast as Red Bull. Regardless of engine, I'm not talking about engine. I don't think that the actual engine is losing them the 5-6 kilometers. I don't think that's what they're losing in the engine. I think they're mainly losing it through actual airflow and not having as really, I'd say, a beautiful airflow as Red Bull. It's still got its problems. There were even some pictures, I don't know, hopefully I can pop them up on screen, of its airflow really in the back of the car, even after the upgrades. It still seems like it's got some drag sitting there from its actual side pods, and that's really what I want to talk about. Its actual upgrade into its side pods and engine cover. Now the shark fin. The shark fin is, to me, it looks mean. It looks mean. I like that they added it. It is, I guess, a copy off of Red Bull, but I mean, they aren't the originators of a shark fin. It's something that just kind of goes along with car. All the shark fin is really there to do is able to bring more really cooling to the car, to the back of the car, to its exhaust and engine. It's just a different really method of cooling. And if used in the right way, it could promote the airflow going straight towards the beam wing as well. And I think that's why the engine cover is done in the way that it's done. When now it's air cooling, like the louvers, they're kind of moved a little bit lower, so the airflow can go now more towards the rear end instead of going straight into the louvers. They have really changed their cooling, which I like. I think this is a good way of reducing drag. It was something that I thought was kind of an issue in the first place. Their cooling louvers were straight onto the engine cover, and obviously then the air can go straight through. Regardless, that is a part that they added, the shark fin. Another thing that they added that I really like is with that waterfall slide. I mean, before, that was their main source of downforce. They knew that coming into the season. That's why I think they kind of shot down their expectations, but the rest of the car is so good and that underfloor is so good that really the waterfall didn't really need to be implemented for that long. So they brought it back. Instead of where its starting point was, they brought it way further back, and now where that waterfall is at is really to promote rear downforce, which we know is already very strong on the car, but the actual drag on the car won't be caught up as much in its side pods, which I think is huge. This is the biggest thing that they added. because now they're actually able to bring the side pod under. They have the little undercut. I mean, the car is just working in unison, man. It is a very good thing to see. I also saw pictures of its actual entrance to its floor was a bit lowered and angled at a different angle. This is just to promote airflow to go more under that undercut, which is, again, a great innovation that Dan Fallows is adding to the car. And they're going in this direction and they're really pushing it. I think that in Canada, without the issue of really Fernando Alonso from, was it lap 25, 35, where he had to lift and coast, with its really issue, they could have fought with Red Bull easily. And I don't think Max was hiding pace. He had nothing to hide pace for. He makes a mistake. There's Fernando right there. I also think they should have ran a one stop. I think that they should have risked it. They have such good, really tire degradation. The only thing that would have screwed them was a safety car. And even if it was a safety car, they could have probably pitted and gained the advantage on its tires there. They had, I think, the race win. It could have been close. It could have been close. I think they took also a good route going hard. The car definitely is great on tires, and what they're able to really do with its rear, it's great. Their traction zone is great, and that is why I think the car is so good in Canada and will continue to be for the rest of the year. Where it might lack is like Spa. I mean, its straight line speed will be worked on, and I think that's what Silverstone is really going to bring. I think it's going to be the promotion of really aero efficiency. That is what they've been talking about in the season. I knew Canada, if I was able to talk about it, I would have been able to tell you guys this was going to be their biggest upgrade. I mentioned it in a couple videos before, but I know that now coming into Silverstone, aero efficiency is going to be the biggest thing that they talk about here. It's going to be how they really, maybe additional parts will be added towards really the side pods. The way that the engine cover looks could be changed up. It's just going to be changing up the car to where the airflow is being as most efficient. Something that Red Bull just has it really nailed on the coffin. It will be where I think the car, when it comes to Silverstone, will compete with the Red Bull. Now, Austria will be a tough track. I don't think they have the straight line speed to compete with Red Bull. I think in traction zone, specifically going into turn 2, which is after that huge straight, they'll be strong there. They'll be very strong there, and they'll be very strong even going into turns 3 and 4. Where I think they'll lack is maybe 6, 7, where it's high speed. That's where I think the car will kind of lose its edge, but they can make it up due to driving style. I just don't think that it's possible for them to win. If it's a wet race, that could be a different story. That could be very close, very competitive. I do think Silverstone will be their first chance of maybe taking a win. I think Mercedes will be very strong there. It'll be very competitive. But later in the year, Singapore, that'll be a great track. Hungary, they have to be favorites there, in my opinion. I think that is a track that their car, everything they want, rear limited, pretty flat. They're able to ride the car super low. That is another thing that I want to talk about. The Aston Martin team bringing in these upgrades, the ones that they brought into Canada, something that they even talk about, and I think this is huge. I didn't even really know this. I actually thought the car was pretty low anyways. Their car had to be ridden at a certain height during street tracks to where it wasn't actually helping their performance. They said they were lucky that there was street tracks in the beginning because they were not going to really be able to lower the car as much going into these permanent tracks. It's why they actually suffered on Spain with really tire degradation. The car wasn't lowered, but with these new upgrades, they were able to lower the car. They still haven't tried that extreme setup that Alonso wants to go for, which they wanted to do in FP3 in Canada, but they were able to lower the car, able to get the most out of their tires, and that really helped them going into really Canada. So I would really like to see an Austria now with a lowered car, different in its traction zones. I want to see what they do. It's going to be a very highly competitive season from now on. I still think Red Bull's got it in the bag for Austria unless the gods give us a engine problem, the Formula 1 gods. I mean, we'll see. It'll be a competitive match to say the least. I don't think it's going to be their strongest track, but it'll be competitive. I think a lot is to come with this team. These upgrades that they're bringing in are going to be spicy for its aero efficiency, and I really do think this team can fight Red Bull and take the win. Let me know your thoughts down below. Please leave a like, subscribe. It would mean the world, and peace.